Hey everyone, today we're standing in a quiet room, a fan hums in the background, and your phone is face down on the table for once. Somewhere outside, a neighbor's dog barks and a car door slams. But inside, there's just stillness. And if you think you can control how others feel about you, then maybe that's exactly what you haven't let go of yet. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is over there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on a fan for some soft background noise, and let's begin today's journey together. She says she wants someone who's emotionally available. But the moment you offer your full heart, your full schedule, and your full attention, she starts to drift. It doesn't make sense. You finally let down your guard, you show her everything, your kindness, your loyalty, your romantic plans, and suddenly you're the background music she forgets to notice. The hard truth: desire doesn't bloom under a spotlight, it grows in the shadows. Not because she's manipulative, not because she's testing you, but because attraction, real skin level, gut driven attraction, doesn't respond to safety the way you've been told it does. You show up with flowers, she thinks predictable. You text good morning every day, she thinks routine. You say I do anything for you, she thinks already conquered. It's a cruel paradox. The moment you give her the comfort you think she craves, the edge disappears. The edge, the sharp tension between does he want me and why do I care so much, is what makes her feel alive. And here's the worst part: she might not even know why she's pulling away. She's not trying to hurt you. She just feels something slipping, and that something is mystery, curiosity, contrast. The very thing that first sparked her interest gone. You're not losing her because you weren't good enough. You're losing her because you were too understandable. Think about the last time you were obsessed with something. Was it the product that explained itself in the first 5 seconds? Or the one that made you read 3 reviews, watch 2 YouTube breakdowns, and lie awake at night wondering if it was worth it? Humans chase what's just out of reach. It's not manipulation, it's motion. Philosophers still debate why desire thrives on uncertainty. Plato thought love was the pursuit of beauty we don't yet possess. Nietzsche said it was the hunger for power disguised as devotion. But none of them ever had to navigate 2024 dating apps where people lose interest before the coffee gets cold. Here's what you do need to know: when she leans in, don't flood the space. Don't pour your soul into her inbox. Don't update her on your lunch, your gym progress, your horoscope, your dreams. Let her feel something you're not saying. Let silence be the invitation. Because silence, when done right, makes a woman listen with her body. A well-placed pause can scream louder than a 1,000-word confession. A quick example: remember that guy in your circle who doesn't say much at group dinners, he doesn't brag, doesn't compete. But somehow everyone leans in when he speaks. That's tension. That's presence. That's what she wants to feel when she's with you. Not performance, not panic, just gravity. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. Ask instead, what am I trying to fix by giving more of myself right now? Because if you're trying to earn something that should be sparked, not bargained for, you're already in the wrong game. You try to explain how good of a man you are. You list the reasons. You make your case. You think if she just understood, she'd see what's right in front of her. But here's the catch: female desire doesn't speak logic. It speaks tension, mood, energy, and no, not the Instagram kind. The kind that floats in the room and makes her skin tingle without a word being said. You could be a walking checklist of everything her friends say she should want. Tall, driven, emotionally intelligent, owns a slow cooker. And yet, she doesn't feel it. Not because anything's wrong, but because nothing's off. There's no contrast, no edge, no spark that catches her off guard and makes her rethink everything. This is why so many men feel punished for doing the right thing. You think the rules are the same ones you grew up with: be kind, be clear, be committed. But in the emotional realm of attraction, clarity too soon feels like control. It removes the room for her feelings to develop, and that kills desire. You're not a resume, you're not a warranty. You're a man, and if you want her to feel drawn to you, stop trying to give her the reasons why. Start creating the feeling around her. Here's something strange: a woman can be in a room full of attractive men and forget every face, except for the guy who barely looked at her but had an aura like he didn't need her to notice. That's what hits her body before it hits her brain. That's presence. And presence can't be faked. Take an example from jazz. Yeah, jazz. The good kind, the kind that breathes. In jazz, it's not the notes that matter most. It's the spaces between them, the rhythm, the weight. That's what builds feeling. That's what creates heat. You are the instrument, but you've been overplaying the melody. Let the silence play too. Women are emotional radars. They don't pick up what you say, they pick up what you vibe. And if your vibe says, I need you to want me so I can feel worthy, she feels that, even if your words say otherwise. That's why trying harder often backfires your energy as broadcasting the opposite of confidence. She wants to wonder what you're thinking. She wants to be unsure if you'll call tonight. She wants to feel her heartbeat quicken, not because you impressed her, but because you didn't try to. One quirky truth: the guy who sends hey 3 times gets ghosted. The guy who waits 2 days before sending thinking about you at 10:47 p.m. He gets replayed like a favorite song. Now I'm not saying play games. I'm saying play music. Learn rhythm. Let the moment breathe. Let the room pull her towards you. You don't need to dominate the space. You just need to own your place in it. Philosophers still argue about what makes something attractive. Is it symmetry, confidence, biological cues? Maybe. But in every study, one thing stands out: unpredictability draws attention. When something doesn't fit the mold, your brain tags it as important. Women do this too, but with feeling. So here's the shift stop asking how to make her want you. Ask how to be someone whose energy makes her lean in, even when you say nothing at all. Because the man who radiates quiet tension doesn't ask for love, he draws it in like gravity. You open her message, you feel that familiar drop in your stomach, she replied, but it's cold, polite, dry. You start reading between the lines, then above the lines, then beneath them. You want to ask her what changed, but deep down you already know. She doesn't pull away because she's mad. She pulls away because you stopped being interesting. Not as a person, you might be brilliant, kind, and deeply lovable, but as a mystery. And mystery is the birthplace of attraction. You see, the more you show up, the more visible you become. The more visible you become, the easier it is to map you out. And the easier it is to map you out, the faster her interest plateaus. It's not that she wants you to be mean, she wants you to be magnetic. And magnets don't chase, they draw in, they wait, they hold tension in the space between contact. Here's where it gets frustrating. You've been taught that being a good guy means always being there, always replying fast, always saying yes, but the part no one told you: that kind of consistency kills curiosity. It's not that she wants to be ignored. She wants to feel your presence, not your persistence. Picture this: you're at a movie theater. The previews roll. You've got popcorn, good company, maybe a giant soda you'll regret later. And the trailer for a new film comes on. It shows everything: plot twist ending, no mystery left. You say, looks decent, but you never think about it again. But another trailer. It shows one strange scene: a glance, a cryptic phrase, a character walking into a room with a scar across his face and no explanation. You leave the theater thinking about that one. That's you. Be the movie that keeps her wondering. Real world example. Think of Cleopatra. History doesn't remember her as the most beautiful woman, but as the most magnetic. She was mystery personified. Julius Caesar and Mark Antony didn't fall for her because of her looks. They fell for her presence, for her ability to make silence feel like a secret. Philosophers still discuss the nature of charisma. Is it innate? Is it learned? Or is it simply the result of self-possession? The quiet conviction that you don't need anyone's permission to exist fully. That's the man she remembers, the one who doesn't explain himself, the one who smiles but rarely clarifies, who shows up but doesn't overstay, the one who offers small windows into his world, not an open house with guided tours. Now, a quirky truth, even Instagram knows this. Swipe through enough reels and you'll notice the videos that almost reveal something, but cut away just before the reveal, they get rewatched. Because our minds crave resolution. And in romance, the lack of it keeps desire alive. So no, you're not being ignored because you're not enough. You're being scanned, evaluated, not for your looks or your jokes or your Spotify playlist, but for your mystery, for your posture, for your ability to not need her attention in order to feel whole. Stop trying to be the nice guy who's always there. Start becoming the man whose absence is felt. Because when she says, I just need space, what she's really saying is, let me miss you. And she can't miss you if you never go anywhere. You text her something sweet, short, honest, thoughtful, but she doesn't reply. Hours pass. You check your phone again, still nothing. Your mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Should I double text? Should I wait? Should I post a story? So she sees I'm not desperate. But here's the thing, you haven't realized yet she's not ignoring you to hurt you. She's picking up on something, something quiet, something chemical, something beneath your words, the scent of need. A woman can smell emotional desperation the way a bloodhound smells a trail. Even if you say all the right things, even if you play it cool. If your energy whispers, please need me back, her body hears it and responds by pulling away. This is where most men lose the game without realizing they were playing one. You think she's ghosting. She's not. She's just retreating from the anxiety your energy puts in the air. It doesn't matter if you're charming, funny, or accomplished. If your confidence leaks out through over-explaining, oversharing, or over-giving, she'll feel the imbalance before you do. Real confidence doesn't chase clarity, it lets people wonder. Remember those nature documentaries where animals freeze when they sense danger? That's her nervous system reacting to a whiff of emotional instability. Not because she's cruel, but because something in your presence feels like pressure. And pressure suffocates attraction. Let's ground this in the real world. You ever see a guy at a party average looking quiet, not saying much, but every woman there seems to orbit around him? He's not playing games, he's just not playing. His stillness speaks louder than 1,000 clever lines. He knows who he is, and that's enough. Philosophers still examine the idea of inner wealth, the notion that a man with true value never needs to announce it. Like a sealed letter that people want to open. If your soul is always on the table, there's nothing left to discover. A quirky example. You know those YouTube thumbnails that say you won't believe what happens at 3:47, you click and you wait. That timestamp becomes a magnet. You might even rewatch the buildup. Not because it's polished, but because the anticipation was crafted just right. The same principle works in attraction. Women don't fall for men who prove their worth. They fall for men whose worth feels obvious and doesn't beg to be acknowledged. So, if you've been giving too much too soon, take a step back. Let silence fill the gap. Let her reach into that space, not out of guilt or politeness, but because something inside her wants to know more. And remember, it's not about being distant, it's about being centered. You don't disappear to manipulate, you create space to breathe. And in that space, the game resets. Because when she can feel you're okay, even without her approval, that's when she starts wondering why you feel so good to be around. And wondering is the first spark of desire. There's a kind of man who walks into a room and something shifts. No announcement, no swagger, just gravity. It's not his cologne. It's not his jawline. It's the contrast, the tension between the stillness in his body and the electricity in his presence. He doesn't speak first. He doesn't rush to smile. He doesn't fill silence, and yet he's the one everyone remembers. That's what you've been missing. Not a technique, a state. You've been taught to fill gaps, to keep the conversation going, to perform, but performance is transparent. It says, I'm trying, and the truth is, the more you try, the less she feels. Because her desire doesn't respond to your effort, it responds to your energy. She wants to feel a man who isn't reacting, who isn't tap dancing emotionally, who can sit in silence with his shoulders relaxed and his gaze steady and say everything without a single word. You ever notice how the scariest horror movies don't have monsters on screen? It's the idea of something. The unseen, the almost seen. That's what tightens your chest. That's what keeps you hooked. Desire works the same way. It's not in the gift you bought, it's in the pause before you hand it over. It's in the way you look at her and then look away first. She doesn't want an open book. She wants a page torn from a novel with no title. Something she can't quite place. Something that challenges her sense of control. Philosophers still argue whether mystery is power or protection, but either way, it holds attention. And in dating, attention is everything. Real-world example. Think of any Bond movie. James Bond could be played by a man with a $12 haircut and still come off as magnetic. Why? It's the lack of rush, the control, the quiet defiance that says, I'm not performing for you. I'm already complete. Even a quirky moment, you ever have someone hand you a cup of coffee with two hands, look you in the eye and say nothing. You remember that, not because of the coffee, but because of the weight behind it. The gesture had contrast, calm and intensity together. You want to be that moment. The one she replays in her head when she's driving home. The one where you said very little, but everything about your presence screamed, I am not waiting for you, but I welcome you. This isn't about arrogance, it's about congruence. You are a man, And you're not hiding your edge in order to be chosen. Stop flattening your tone. Stop shrinking your stance. Stop softening every truth just to be liked. The right woman doesn't fall in love with your compliance. She falls in love with your contrast, your tension between stillness and charge. And when she senses that contrast, her body reacts before her logic catches up. She doesn't know why she thinks about you at midnight. She just does. Because you didn't try to impress her. You gave her something better, a feeling that lives in her skin long after the conversation ends. She checks her phone. No message from you, and strangely, she feels something. That flicker of curiosity. That low buzz of, why hasn't he texted me yet? And in that moment, you become real again. Not as a man who's chasing, but as a man who's moving. Somewhere, with or without her. You think making her feel loved means spelling it out. Saying I miss you on day 2. Sending voice notes at midnight. Leaving little breadcrumbs of your affection like you're afraid she might forget you exist. But that's not how it works. Desire doesn't grow in constant sunshine. It needs shade. It needs weather. She doesn't want to know what you feel, not right away. She wants to wonder. Because the wondering is what activates the pull. When you lay everything out too soon, you deny her the experience of discovering you. And discovery is what makes love feel earned, not given. There's a reason mystery novels don't put the killer on page 1. There's a reason movie trailers tease instead of tell. Our brains are wired to stay engaged with tension. And in attraction, tension is the engagement. Real world example. Think of texting. The guy who always responds in under 30 seconds, he's forgettable, predictable. But the one who responds with intention, who waits, who chooses his words like seasoning, he becomes felt. His messages carry weight because he's not filling space. He's owning time. Owning. A quirky truth. Even email marketers know this, the subject line. You won't believe this. Gets more clicks than important update. Why? Because curiosity cracks the door. It doesn't need to knock. Philosophers still reflect on seduction as a dance, one that requires rhythm, space, and timing. Give too much too fast and you overwhelm. Give too little too slow and you vanish. The art is in the placement. And that's where you rise. Not by holding back love, but by holding back excess. The excess of explaining, of validating, of proving. A woman doesn't need a man who is always available. She needs a man who knows where he's going and doesn't stop walking just to beg for attention. So the next time you're tempted to send that long, vulnerable message, stop. Sit with the feeling. Ask, am I expressing or am I asking to be picked? Because a man who doesn't need to be picked becomes the one who's chosen. Not for his availability, but for his inaccessibility in all the right ways. She wants to feel like she's chasing something just a little out of reach. That doesn't mean playing games. It means living your life in such a way that you're not always looking over your shoulder to see if she's watching. She will feel more when you say less. She will want more when you reveal less. And when she finally does reach for you, it won't be out of confusion. It will be out of tension finally finding its place to land. You stop trying, not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but because you finally understand presence isn't about pursuit. It's about posture. You stand a little taller, not for anyone else, but because your spine feels better that way. You speak slower, not as a tactic, but because you're no longer rushing to be heard. And when you look at her, you don't scan for signs of interest. You just see her, fully calmly, without needing anything back. That's when the shift happens. She notices something different. You didn't change your wardrobe. You didn't get a fresh fade. You didn't memorize pickup lines. But your energy is no longer reaching. It's receiving. Here's a real-world comparison. Think about walking into a restaurant. One waiter is bouncing from table to table, frantic, smiling too hard, apologizing before anything goes wrong. The other walks, slowly carries water, like it matters, speaks like every word has weight. Which one feels like they own the place? Which one would you trust more exactly? That's the invisible power, emotional gravity. A man who has it doesn't explain. He doesn't ask to be seen. He simply is. And in being, he becomes unforgettable. Philosophers still explore the idea of authentic authority. Not the kind you inherit or demand, but the kind that emanates from within. The kind that makes people lean in without knowing why. That's what you build when you stop trying to be liked and start being fully yourself. Quirky observation. Even toddlers know this. Ever seen a kid hand you a rock with total seriousness like it's a diamond, and suddenly you feel like it is a diamond? That's presence. That's belief in one's own value. The moment you stop performing is the moment she starts seeing you. not as someone who wants her, but as someone who knows himself. And the more you become this kind of man, the kind who enjoys his own silence, who doesn't fear space, who walks with a rhythm she can't quite predict, the more magnetic you become. It's not about withholding love. It's about not handing it out like flyers on a street corner. It's about knowing that what you offer is rare. And rare things are revealed slowly, with ceremony, with intention. She doesn't want the man who floods her with affection on day 3. She wants the one who listens with still eyes and makes her wonder what it means. She wants the man who doesn't rush to respond to her mood swings because he's not shaken by them. She wants the man who stands still while the world tilts. That's the kind of presence that makes her replay the way you breathed near her. That's the kind of presence that sticks in her chest long after you've left the room. You don't need to prove. You need to emanate. You don't need to chase. You need to radiate. And when you finally believe that she will too, she is motion. She is mood. She is music without a fixed tempo. And if you try to control that music, she'll push you away. Not because she's angry, but because she's searching for something you've forgotten how to be. She doesn't want to be dominated. She wants to be contained. And there's a world of difference. You are the frame, not the painting. Your role is not to take up the entire canvas of her attention, but to give structure to the chaos she already is. When she storms emotionally, your stillness becomes her safety. When she tests your presence, becomes her answer. Not with words, not with analysis, just with being. That's what true masculine energy is, the ability to hold the moment without breaking under it. Real world example. Think of pilots during turbulence. The passengers are gripping armrests, eyes wide. But the pilot's voice comes on calm, grounded, maybe even a touch bored. That voice, that's you. That's what she wants to feel when her emotions rise. Not a man who reacts, but a man who absorbs. This is why she doesn't respond well to emotional fragility masked as kindness. She sees through it. The man who adjusts his opinion to match hers, weak. The one who's overly agreeable, suspicious. Not because she wants a brute, but because women are wired to respect the man who respects himself first. Philosophers still debate the nature of polarity, masculine and feminine energies, but most agree on this attraction thrives when there's tension between groundedness and movement. One must hold. One must dance. And here's the strange, quirky part: she'll test you, not because she wants to break you, but because she wants to trust you. She wants to know that your calm isn't a performance, that your silence isn't passive aggression, that your presence is earned. If you fold the first time she pulls away, you were never grounded. If you apologize just to keep her close, you weren't connected to truth. And if you change your entire schedule just to accommodate hers, you didn't have a direction to begin with. That doesn't make you evil. That makes you uncentered. And uncentered men don't attract women, they exhaust them. So what does it look like to be that emotional pillar? It looks like pausing before you respond. It looks like holding your gaze when she's emotional. It looks like saying no gently but firmly when something crosses your boundary. Not to control her, but to show that you're not trying to be liked. You're trying to be real. You're not playing hard to get. You're just not playing at all. And when she feels that your world doesn't orbit around her approval, her body relaxes. Her guard drops and desire enters. Because she doesn't want to carry both her chaos and yours, she wants to let her emotions dance inside a space that's strong enough to hold them. That's your job, not to chase, not to fix, but to stand. And in doing that, you don't just attract her, you invite her into something sacred, emotional gravity. So now you sit in that same quiet room, fan humming, phone still face down. But something's shifted. Not outside, not in her. Not in the way she texts you, not in the way she looks at you across the table. What's shifted is you. You've stopped reaching. You've stopped narrating your worth like a resume read out loud. You've stopped shrinking just to fit the idea of the man she might approve of. And in doing that, you've become more powerful than you ever imagined. Because a woman doesn't fall in love with performance. She falls in love with presence, with your silence, with your posture, with the way you walk into a room like you belong in it, even if no one notices. You don't need her to want you, but now she does. You don't need her to chase you, but now she feels the pull. Not because you tricked her, because you remembered who you are. And from that place, you don't beg for attention, you command it without saying a word. So be the man who creates space. Be the frame, not the painting, the pilot in the storm, the tension in the silence. Let her feel your gravity before you ever say your name. And if you do this right, you won't need to build an army of women in love. You'll just be the kind of man they never forget. End of script. Have a beautiful day.